I'm Ryan Cantor. In this video, we're talking about Clemson's decision to keep head basketball coach Brad Brownell, as well as the direction of the ACC in general in terms of basketball. So let's start with Brad Brownell. So athletic director Graham Neff announced after the NCAA selection show, Clemson missed it, of course. He announced that since they were a bubble team, he felt they deserved to make it. They were essentially a tournament team. So that was the original criteria, for a lack of a better term, to keep him. Technically, they didn't meet up, but it was so close. They set a record 14 ACC wins. Didn't really feel right to let him go on this note, so they brought him back. Of course, they went to the NIT and had another first-round exit in the NIT, reminiscent of their home loss to Oakland a couple of years ago. So looking a little silly or feeling a little gloomy following that outcome. So Coach Brownell will be back. Now, what's interesting, so Morehead State, who knocked him out in the first round of the NIT, is ranked 236th nationally by Ken Palm. So that's possibly their worst loss. That is their worst loss of the year. That is an atrocious loss. Morehead State lost to UAB in the next round, 77-59. So they lost by 16. They were 18, excuse me. They were blown out by UAB. That's a bad loss. And that's how the season ends. And it's really emblematic of the whole season, right? They'd have some great wins. They beat NC State 3 times. NC State made the tournament. They beat Duke. Duke made the tournament and won a game. They beat Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh made the tournament. So they have some quality wins. They beat Penn State, and Penn State made the tournament and won a game in the tournament, right? So Clemson had several quality wins, but just completely inexplicable losses, and that's how the season ends, with a really embarrassing loss to Morehead State. But he's back, and next year he's not bringing in much of a freshman class, so it's going to be transfers, and that'll really determine how good the team can be. They're going to lose Hunter Tyson and Braden Galloway. Alex Hemingway is coming back, but he really wasn't a huge contributor this year. So they should take a step back in theory, but if they could add transfers, really Coach Brownell's best team was built on transfers. So they have an opportunity, if they could hit home runs there, to be pretty good, but if not, they'll take a step back. So in the purple on the left, that's the Coach Purnell era. And you can see he took over, and that team was quite bad, took over from Larry Shyatt. So season ending in 2004, that's the 2004, March of 2004. They were awful, and they got better and better. And you could see his last 4 seasons, they were really good. They were 29th nationally in Ken Palm. That was the team that went to the NIT championship and lost to West Virginia. Then they had 3 teams make the NCAA tournament. They were all just lost in the first round, which was getting really frustrating. If you think back, fans were ready for that next step and getting frustrated with Brownell. Then that first year, they lost to West Virginia in the tournament again. That's the first year with Brownell. Then he didn't make it again for quite a while. Then in 2018, they had the breakout year with all those transfers. Sheldon Mitchell, Elijah Thomas, Marquise Reed. 14th best team in the country, according to Ken Palm, and they were in the top 6 or the final 16 of the NCAA tournament. And then it's kind of trended down. And even though this year they won 14 ACC games, actually only ranked 72 in Ken Palm. And there were so much complaints from Clemson fans about Ken Palm and net and all the analytics all season long, but they kind of proved out to be true. Clemson, they were 10-1, and they were still pretty low in the analytics rankings. And those rankings are predictive. And so they were basically predicting Clemson to do poorly down the stretch. It's exactly what Clemson did. So you really kind of have to be humble, eat that humble pie and kind of acknowledge those analytic rankings are pretty good. So Clemson, 14-6, but 72nd best team in the country, according to Ken Palm. So Clemson goes 14-6 in the ACC, yet they're ranked only 72nd nationally in Ken Palm. You kind of wonder, how is that possible? And you really have to look at the ACC as a whole. And, all year, people were saying it was either down or it's not that bad. It doesn't make sense. In hindsight, it kind of does. You look here, this is the net rankings for each conference. You see the ACC below the Mountain West at 7. And the NCAA Tournament Committee, the selection committee, they chose to put Nevada in over Clemson. And this is why. You look at the ACC and you think, these storied programs like Louisville, well, they're not very good. Rick Pitino's not there anymore. Duke, Coach K's not there anymore. And they're still good, but they didn't make the Sweet 16. You look at UNC. Now, that to their credit, they did make a run to the national championship last year, but Hubert Davis is 26-14 in his 2 years there. He's not Roy Williams. Now Jim Boeheim's leaving. Now Mike Bray's is leaving. Really, the two best coaches in the conference are Tony Bennett and Jim Larrañaga. So the ACC is not what it was. So when you see Clemson is 14-6, that's great, but context, right? The conference isn't that good, and that's why 14-6 in the ACC doesn't get you into the NCAA tournament. So this brings us all the way back to a conversation a couple weeks ago about what is Clemson going to do. The Big 12, which I suggested could be a destination for Clemson that makes a lot of sense, is actually an elite basketball conference, and right now the ACC is not. So it's not just football and TV contracts, but the other sports are starting to trend down too. So what's Clemson going to do? That's the big question. It's not even just football. Basketball and the ACC is turning down too.